special guest is Ed Kranepool.
Davey Johnson, the manager of the New York Mets.
I'm talking with Johnny Bench, and Johnny Bench, one of the great catchers of all time.
Welcome to Kiner's Corner Revisited on SNY.TV. I'm Ted Berg, joined by Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner. Ralph, I want to take a look at an interview you did on the old Kiner's Corner set with Ed Kranepool, one of the longtime Mets.
Yeah, I was there when Ed got his first Major League base hit. He came up as a well-touted guy at 17 years of age and got a base hit. Not a good one. It was over third base. He was a left-hand batter. He got lucky, but he got that base hit, and, of course, went on to, even nowadays, he still has almost all the old hit records of the Mets. But he was really a good guy, and he went to James Monroe High School and broke Hank Greenway's home run record there when he was in high school.
When did you know the Mets had a good ball club in 1969? What part of the year did you think the Mets could beat the Cubs and go all the way?
Well, I thought we had a ball club that really gelled on the West Coast. We played out there, and for the years before that, we had never won a series in either L.A., San Diego, or San Francisco. They were always contending clubs. We finally won 10 games in a row out there. We swept all three teams, came back to New York just around 500, and winning on the West Coast proved to us that we were a good ball club. We dealt with the West Coast teams that were always in contention. So we came back to New York. We had to play the Cubs. We wound up beating them every series. And, you know, we had players coming into their own. As you look back now, we had some real good players. One fella still pitching, Nolan Ryan. Tom Seaver will be in the Hall of Fame. You had the best defensive catcher in baseball, Jerry Grody. You had a little shortstop. Yeah, Jerry Koosman won 220 games in his career. Jerry, the shortstop, little shortstop we had, Buddy Harrelson, was as good a shortstop as you could find defensively. So we had a lot of key players that could do a lot of things. Fundamentally, we were sound. We played the game that had to be played, and that was really primarily due to Gil Hodges. You either played his way or you sat on the bench.
How about the time he walked out to left field and took Cleon Jones out of the game?
The one thing you had to respect about Gil, he didn't change his rules. He had one set of rules for 25 players, and either you played his way, and fundamentally you had to play the game correctly. This is a problem, even today, in the way they play baseball sometimes today. You see fundamental mistakes. Gil wouldn't tolerate that. You're going to make errors. That's part of the game. But when you throw the wrong bases or don't have an idea what you're doing in the field, he would sit you alongside of him until you learned how to play the game. And if you didn't like it, he'd say, look, I'm going to get fired with or without you, so you either play my way or we're going to get rid of you. And of course he did.
How much credit do you think Gil Hodges should get for the '69 team?
All the credit he deserves and more. He was outstanding. He did what Ed said there is really true. He would take and say, this is the way to play the game. And he was very taciturn. He would say something and he didn't repeat it. He had to do it, or if he didn't do it right then and tried to do it then, from then on, you were off the club.
And what was the story you referred to about him walking out to left field?
It was a story about Cleon Jones missed the ball in left field rolled by him and he didn't run after the ball. And it was something similar to what you see occasionally in baseball today. And Gil got off the bench and started walking out. And we as broadcasters, Lindsey Nelson and Bob Murphy and I, didn't know what was going on. And I said, well, he must be going out to talk to the pitcher. And he walked by the pitcher and then went toward the shortstop. Walking toward left field, and we said, well, maybe something's wrong with Bud Harrelson at shortstop. And he walked right by Bud Harrelson slowly. It's taken a long time. He walked slowly out and went to Cleon Jones. And he asked Jones, is there anything wrong with you? And Cleon says, no. He said, well, follow me. And it took him right back to the dugout and out of the game.
I mean, do you think Jones gets credit for not overreacting to that? Because I could see that in today's game, it seems like a player might take objection to a manager walking all the way out to left field to remove him for a game, even if he dogged it.
You had to know Gil Hodges. You wouldn't let him know that he didn't like it. He was a real tough man. I'll tell you what he used to do. He would, when we'd go in the hotel, he'd go to the front desk of the hotel with a baseball. He would ask the night clerk, he said, when any of my players come in, he says, get them to autograph this baseball. And when they would come in after curfew, and the clerk would ask for their autograph, they'd sign the ball, Next day, he'd say, well, let me see that ball, and he'd look at the ball, and he'd go to the players. So you didn't have curfew today, you're in trouble.
That 69 team, when they made the miracle run, did you see that coming as a broadcaster? Was that something that you felt was brewing all season long?
In the beginning, the first part of the year, the Mets finally got to 500 for the first time in their careers. They got there and they celebrated. And Seaver said, I'm not going to celebrate. This is nothing. We're going to win this thing. And about that time, people started to say, well, this club is a pretty good club. But we were so far away that no one thought they could win that year. In August, like August 10th, I believe it was, we were 13 games out of first place. And then the Mets put it all together and came on and won by a large margin. And they beat out the Cubs that year. But in '68, the year before, they had a good team. They had a lot of shutouts, so their pitching was outstanding. They had Seaver, they had Kuzman, they had Gentry, they had Nolan Ryan, who really wasn't any good at that time, but was going to be a great, great pitcher. And they had Ron Taylor in the bullpen, was a very good bullpen pitcher. And we had, and like Kranepool said in the interview, that the club was starting to be a good ball club. But we got every break in the world. We had the black cat thing where the cat came out. We were playing the Cubs, and the cat looked at Leo DeRosa and then walked across in front of the bench. And we had home runs at the top of the fence and bounced over and not back in the field. And we had all kinds of good breaks. But you have to have those big breaks to win.
Ralph, thanks so much.
Okay.
Check us out next time on Kiner's Corner Revisited on SNY.TV.